There we go. I remembered to hit record. So this is Mindfulness Practice Group, and I'll be sending a link out to all of you later on today, but it's wonderful to see you. And so we'll start with a sitting, as I was saying, and I would like for us to do this chant together. This is a chant can you see it there on the screen? Wonderful. Some of us know this chant. This is a short passage from Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks. He's kind of the main Western translator who brought a lot of this old Sufi poetry that was written in Farsi into Western consciousness, God, probably 40 years ago or so. Thank goodness for Coleman Barks, because he kind of helped the world fall in love with Rumi and Hafez and a bunch of those, El-Halaj and a lot of those Persian mystics, Persian Sufi mystics. So he called this piece "This Mud Body," and I want to say it's from the Essential Rumi, but I don't actually know. If you Google it, you'll find it for sure. But it's going to help frame what we're going to play with a little bit today. And so let's chant it together. As always, I know we can't hear each other. You can only hear me and yourself, because Zoom doesn't let us do that harmonizing thing. But I think it's important to feel the words in our own bodies and hear our own voice give expression to these teachings and these ideas. I think that helps us personalize it in a way that doesn't really happen, I think, if we're just thinking. So let's say this together. This mud body is clear epiphany. Angels wish they could move as I move. Purity, cherubim babies long for my innocence. Courage, armies of demons flee my uplifted hand. I will send that to you all, along with the email later. Hopefully why we're starting with that will make a little more sense a little later. But these are strong words. They're quite powerful words in affirmation of the mud, in affirmation of the ashes, the earthen vessel that we inhabit. They're quite powerful words in affirmation of the power and the spiritual resonance, the importance of the vessel. So that's going to be kind of our theme today. So find a posture for that vessel. If you'd like, we'll just take a minute here to find a posture that's going to work for us. Most of this will be in silence, but I'm going to talk us in, give us kind of a theme to play with a little bit. And so let me see here how I want to do this. Yeah, there we go. So as we are settling ourselves in to our meditation this morning, I'll say a couple things quick about how the posture is a ritual function, and the awareness of posture and the honoring of the bones and muscles, as well as the adjustments that we make to those bones and muscles through the course of a sitting, can be understood to be a ceremonial act. I'll remind us all this is not about a right or a wrong posture. It's about the understanding we have of what the posture is. And it's about the way we encounter it. To adjust our sitting position is to adjust our minds. And very, very often, to adjust our minds is to adjust our sitting position. These two things almost completely overlap. So the way we include in that big space of awareness all of the sensations and movements, memories and messages of the body, become a metaphor for how we listen to our lives, what we include about our lives, and what maybe we unconsciously choose to exclude. So during this sitting time together, I invite you to include, as I hope you always do, the sense of uprightness that you give yourself with your long spine, whatever that looks like for you. The sense of stability that you give yourself with your base, however that looks to you. The trustworthy stillness of the great earth. And the dynamic waves of the breath. I hope you include all of these things. But additionally today, I invite you in an experiential sense, best you can, to encounter your body as a vessel of knowing, a storehouse of memory, a container for the sacred experience that we call human. To remember that present moment connection to the sensations of the body and breath marry our awareness to the present, of course. But awareness of the body can help remind us that the present moment includes the past. So much of how our body shows up this morning for these moments together on the cushion is an expression of how we have encountered that body and how we have treated, understood, and regarded that body for all the days of our lives. We do encounter the past as well as the present. And so we listen. And we receive. We allow and we are curious. We'll spend the rest of the sitting in silence and remember together through our listening, through our presencing, that this mud body really is pure epiphany.
Hey, I'm going to make a couple assumptions here. And my first one is that everybody could relate, at least to some degree, to everything that all of us just said. That all of us have had at least moments of experiencing the body as something we are betrayed by or in conflict with, trying to listen to, but burdened by, unpredictable, unreliable, a cruel master, an ungrateful servant, right? Kind of all of the above. We heard some positive in there, but mostly what we heard, you could feel the tone, right? Is mostly there's conflict and affliction and confusion. You can feel that we're talking about a difficult relationship here, right? We're talking about a largely difficult relationship. Isn't that interesting? Really, I mean, isn't that interesting? We're born into bodies and we have them, if we're lucky, for several decades, and then that vehicle stops, and that we're talking to a group of adults here, right? We've been around a while. And we're describing the relationship with that vessel, that vehicle for consciousness, as being largely not so great. We wish it was different, right? Each one of us said some variation on, I wish it was different. Right? I wish a lot of it was different. I wish a little bit of it was different. I wish it was different on Tuesdays and Fridays when it shows up looking this way, right? But can you feel that right away there was, I wish you were different. I wish you were different. This is so common. So common as to be universal. Universal. So I know we're not a cross section of humanity here necessarily, but in this way, on this day, we are. We are a cross section of humanity. If you ask anybody, what's your relationship like with their body? If they're still and they are honest, they're going to share some version of something that somebody has said already today. 100%. So this is Mindfulness Practice Group. Why the heck are we talking about this? There's a whole bunch of reasons. Number one, in the mindfulness tradition, as a lot of you know, the very first instruction given in mindfulness meditation is, where's your body right now? Check in with it and connect to it. Right out of the gate, very first thing. Number one, before the breath, even, body. So as meditation practitioners, as mindfulness practitioners, we come by awareness of the body, connection to the body, investigation of the body. Very honestly, it's instruction number one. There is no escaping it. In the mindfulness tradition, it is an embodied tradition. Whether that shows up in a Buddhist way or a secular way, or you adapt this to a Christian faith or whatever, if you're paying attention to your senses, then you're paying attention to the vehicle of your senses. Does that make sense? Right? It's like, of course. I mean, of course, it's such a duh, but we have to keep emphasizing it because of the spirit of what everybody offered, how often we want to leave it behind, how often we're fighting with it and we don't want to be in it and we don't want to know it and we don't want to investigate it, right? So that's the first reason we're talking about it, is the connection to the tradition, mindfulness tradition, right? And secondly, this one is also universal. At least I've never met anybody who didn't have to work with this one at least a little. A lot of us here see our mindfulness practice as having a human component of self-improvement, right? Lowered heart rate, improved posture sometimes when we're sitting upright every day, blood pressure, increased concentration when we're doing focusing meditation, right? We get better at doing concentrated type tasks. Sports teams that take up mindfulness practice usually notice increase in scoring and increases sense of connection to others, and all the things that secular mindfulness practice offers us. All of us get some sense of that, and I know that motivates us to be willing to give ourselves time every day to do our sittings, to offer ourselves to it. So I know that's happening with this group. But I also know some of you really well, and I'm getting to know others of you better. And I also know that for most of us here, our mindfulness practice, our meditation practice, is also taking place in a much larger container of spiritual inquiry, whether that's Buddhist or Christian or not otherwise specified. There's some sense that what we're doing here has a larger connection, right? And then we start using words like compassion and wisdom and, right, love and all that kind of stuff. And the universal thing that we see in religion traditions, spiritual traditions, meditation traditions, for people who see that practice as part of a larger container for spiritual evolution, is the mind-body split. We just see it. We see it every day all the time. But in this container, we see it. And if we look for evidence of it, we can see it in our scriptural inheritance, our meaning human. It's everywhere, right? So what we're pulling into today is not only fundamental to mindfulness practice. Let's pay attention to the body and all of its senses, but in a larger spiritual sense, we are trying to see in ourselves our instinctive desire to want to push the body down, devalue it, ignore it, disconnect from it, so that we're identified with the spirit. The spirit goes up, the body goes down. Does that make sense to folks? The spirit goes up, the body goes down. That's not true. It doesn't work. But that is what we have all inherited, regardless of what you were raised with. Even if you're raised staunch atheist, you have this. Everybody has this, right? Because I live up here. This is me holding my head. I still think it's funny. I live up here. Oh, I have to. There's this machine I have to operate that's down there, and I don't like it most of the time. But this is me. So whether I see that as a spiritual statement or not, I am immediately in relationship with the body, at best as a faithful servant. I mean, wow, that would be like 1 in 10 million people would say, oh, yes, my body was a trustworthy servant. But that's it. That's on a good day. That's best possible scenario. For most of us, it's like this is the tether. This is the vessel of excrement. Remember Augustine, St. Augustine, the vessel of excrement. Wow, what a fun guy. No wonder no one ever invited him to parties. Good Lord. Anyway, the sins of the flesh. This is our tying ourselves to the earth. This is our lower nature, right? This is where there's all the, and if you read the cemetery meditations in the Satipatthana Sutta, for those of you who read that Buddhist scripture, and the decay of the body and the fluids of the body and the longings of the body and the blood and the pus and the blah, blah, blah. Oh man, we are cranky at having to be embodied. What's going on? Like, we're so cranky about this. So this is universal. Why am I saying it? I'm saying it because this is what leads us to spiritual bypass. How do I get away from this? How do I get away from this? Oh, I know. I'll do meditation. And the entire practice, or I'll go to church and pray. The entire practice from the very, very beginning is unconsciously designed to get us as far away from this as possible. My human nature is not what I really am. I am spirit. I therefore deny and degrade and leave this. I want to get as far away from my humanity as I can. And what better way to do that than deny the body? For those of you who might think that Buddhism has a better track record here, I will remind you to read the life story of the Buddha, please, one more time. One more time. His whole yogic training is just a long series of mortification of the flesh and denial of the flesh and torture of the flesh and self-starving, and it's the same crapola. It's not great. Right? It's an important part of the story because it shows us this is what you're going to instinctively want to do, and it ain't going to work, so don't. So this is why we're talking about it today, because I'm going to put it up on the screen one more time. Boom. We have Rumi. This is the Islamic tradition, the Sufi tradition, saying this mud body is epiphany. Do you feel how he is forcing us to unify those opposites? What does epiphany mean? Clear seeing, enlightenment, awakening, revelation. I don't know, revelation. You know what I mean? Epiphany. Oh, I see it. Boom. A moment of enlightenment, a moment of expansion, a moment of spiritual apprehension, a moment of transcendent, right? The affirmation that this body of mud that we inhabit is that thing. That's about as Buddhist as it gets. I know he wasn't even introduced to Buddhism, but he had the same insight. But then, being the radical emotional guy that he was, I never met him. I'm making him up. But he does go on, as he has a track record of doing, to take that original insight and then populate it. Angels wish they could move the way I do. Do you feel the reversal? We all started going to church or started meditating or hitting the synagogue or hanging out at the temple to try to be an angel. That's why we're here. I don't want to be a human. Humans are bad. I don't want to have a body. Bodies are bad. Flesh is weak. I want to be an angel. They're higher than us. Can you imagine? Everybody knows this. He's flipping it and saying, God, what they wouldn't give for one day in this body, they wish they could do what I do. And the part of me that longs for purity, that's what I'm trying to do on the cushion. That's why I'm going to Mass. I'm trying to taste purity. I can get that through spirit. And he's reversing it. Right? Cherubim babies long for my innocence. In my mud body, they wish they had my purity. And then finally, he leaves us with a really beautiful, I think, affirmation. Courage? The armies of demons flee my uplifted hand. This is not an explanation. This is not a statement of violence. This is the acknowledgement that demons are emotional states. They have no physicality, right? It's a profound poem. It has all sorts of stuff. We could probably do a whole class on just that poem. But the reason we find this so challenging when we first read it, and I'm speaking for myself mostly, before I shift gears and give you guys the wheel here, is when I first read that, it was given to me by my teacher some years ago. Actually, a long time ago, and I just ignored it. Whatever. I just ignored it for quite a while. I wasn't ready for it. Was I one of that's cute, but whatever. It just didn't have any traction. It didn't have any traction in my awareness because my relationship with my body, my relationship with my practice couldn't sustain that idea. There wasn't a place for it to go. Right? Your body is an epiphany, and angels wish they could be you. And like, whatever. I mean, I really just did not have a place to put that. What I'm understanding now is the invitation in the teaching is that without a body, without physicality, we don't get to evolve. We do not get to grow. We need conflict. We need friction. We need something against which to push. Do you feel that that's what happens when you come into a body? You all know you're just awareness. I mean, you're just life or consciousness, if you want to call it that, or Buddha nature, divinity, if you want to call it that. And you manifest it in a body, right? This isn't a rock. This is a living thing, the thing we call Mike and Leah and Cynthia and Suzanne, right? And you've been alive in that body long enough to realize, oh, I'm not just that body. That's the vehicle. But in that vehicle, I can stretch and I can grow and I can evolve by including everything that is here in this vehicle in my awareness. It's telling me its history. The entire history of the planet is in this body. The entire history of the human race is in this body. The entire history of all the suns that the atoms of my body had to pass through in order to form into the molecules, all that stuff, all the sciencey stuff is in this body. How could it not be? Right? If I'm going to be really, really sophisticated and say, I believe in non-separation and I believe in emptiness and I believe in radical interdependence, then I have to start going, well, then this is an intrinsic part of the whole, and I will therefore know the whole by studying this part. And in the Vedic scripture, this predates Buddhism. They said, yeah, if everything in creation is made of clay, you study creation by studying anything made of clay. Everything is made of it, and this is it. You are that. So the idea of leaving this stops making sense. The idea of leaving this is early stage spiritual expression that we are now evolving out of. We need to evolve out of it. A lot of you actually said at the end of your sentence, this thing has to change. This relationship that I have has to change. It has to be a turning toward and an embracing as opposed to a turning away and a leaving. Right? We come to the place we are honestly. So this isn't about a criticism. I carry within me my ancestors' disregard of the body. That's part of my karma. That's part of my inheritance. When I'm really still, those are the whisperings, right? Is the father who disregarded his body, and the grandfather who disregarded his body, and the great grandfather who disregarded his body, and the great 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 grand, right? And the mother who disregarded her body and shamed it, and the great great grandmother. You feel it. It's the same karma you have. So I know that a lot of our fears that we feel in our body are unique to our own specific karma, right? I had an experience and it caused that experience, that caused that emotion, and it caused that physical threat. And so I remember it as fear, so I don't do it again. It was a unique experience to me. Correct. But we also inherit a lot of this stuff. It's just in your DNA. You were born with it because it's part of the summation of human experience. We're born with a fear of heights. We're born with a fear of snakes. We're born with a fear of fire because our ancestors remember, right? And so we're born into that. So everything we're doing today is about encountering, inviting ourselves to encounter the body in a little bit of a different way. So please put aside the critic the best you can, or at least notice and include the critic, but say, stay there on your mat. Give your critic a mat. Sit. There you go, sweetie. Okay, just set it down. Because what we're not looking to do is, I'm going to investigate all the pathologies in my body, and then I'm going to investigate the pathological way that I've related to all of those pathologies. Won't that be nice? It'll be a nice pathology sandwich, and it'll be all flavors of badness. And my ego will go, yay, there's so much stuff that I'm responsible for that I'm bad about. That's what makes sense to me. No, stay on your mat. Sit. We're not doing that today. Instead, instead, what we're doing is going, wow, if this tradition, if these meditation, if these contemplative traditions are true, and these radicals like Rumi are true, I have just been given the keys to a storehouse, and boy, can I hardly wait to go in there and investigate. I'm going to hold a flashlight in my hand, and I'm going to open the doors of the body, and I'm going to walk in and go, I am walking on sacred ground. I am walking into memory, some of which is mine, some of which belongs to my ancestors. It's stored in my body. I am walking into a storehouse of knowing. This whole thing is a vessel of apprehension and knowing, not apprehension, the feeling apprehensive, but a place of contact for information, a storehouse for information. My brain doesn't know it's cold. My body knows it's cold. My brain doesn't know how to tie my shoes. My body knows how to tie my shoes. Does that make sense? But muscle memory. The body remembers. The body keeps the score. You guys know this stuff, right? So I'm walking into, when I'm going into the body this way, I'm going into a vast treasure trove of memory and awareness and knowing and subtlety. There's so much subtlety. And those little flutters in the stomach when that guy walks into the room and you've never met him before, what is that? You're being given a message about something. So let's be really, really curious about the landscape we're investigating. Right? We're not here to blame ourselves, but we are here to see clearly. I largely have disregarded this amazing, I want to say set of encyclopedias, but that's old, isn't it? People don't have encyclopedias, do they? Remember World Book, Encyclopedia Britannica? It's like this huge warehouse full of encyclopedias, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of accumulated wisdom right here. That's what we want to investigate. And what's important for us today is our relationship with that. It's not going to open to us if we're holding a weapon, but it is going to open to us if we say, I want to get to know you in a different way. So that's the invitation we're opening to ourselves today. And how we're going to do that, I'm going to get rid of this mud body, and I'm going to open for you. That's what we're going to do. We are going to write a letter. Oh, our collective hearts sink. Oh God, please don't make us write a letter to the body. We are going to write a letter to the body. You son of a bitch. I'm not paying $50 for this crap. As much. See, right away, isn't that funny? Even to think like, oh, I'm going to address the beautiful storehouse and the sacred. No, I don't address the sacred storehouse. I was like, wow. Oh, bunch of cranks. Okay, we're going to write a letter to the body. Here's what we're going to do. I'm putting it up on the screen. I stole this from somebody who stole it from somebody else, and then I made it my own. I don't know where I got some of this, but I've adapted it. So you are also going to be given this today. You'll get it in your email. Don't worry about writing it all down. But we are going to start with some appreciation, and we're going to start with some good stuff. And the reason we're doing this, in fact, I'm going to take that away for just a second because this is important. Because I know a lot of you have heard me say versions of this, but this is a big deal. Affirmations, positive stuff. I'm here to replace the negative with a positive. Positive, 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 positive. It has a place. It has a place. It is not the long-term goal because it's still on the bad, good axis, right? I was told that I was bad, so I'm going to say in the morning, every morning in there that I am good. That has a place, that is important. It's a stage of development. At some point, we want to get off the good bad axis, right? But for today, because we're beginning, all of us are beginners today, self included, right? When you think about the size of the storehouse we're investigating, it's giant. We're very, very, very new at this. We're very new at the idea of listening to this thing as having any value whatsoever. And it knows that. So a lot of you have figured out, what's the point of mindfulness practice? The point of mindfulness practice really is there a way I can be in contact with something without judging it? Is there just a way I can even be open to the experience of something, anything, without immediately labeling it, judging it, and seeing it through the lens of everything that's ever happened to me? Can I, in any way, for even a few seconds, see it fresh, undefended? That's why I'm holding up my paws like this. Can I just see this undefended? And a lot of us know, oh my God, I didn't know that I labeled and saw and judged everything until I started seeing, and then that's all that I saw for weeks and weeks and weeks, my daily sitting, weeks and months and years. Oh, it's labeling, judging, grabbing, pushing, the whole thing, right? You're getting better at seeing ego functioning, better at seeing ego functioning, better at seeing it, better at seeing it. And then more stuff started to show itself. Every one of you I know have had this experience, that more shows up in the body, in the emotions, and in the thoughts. Why? There's a bunch of reasons, but here's the one I'm hitting today. When I come, and a lot of you have heard me use this metaphor, but this is a big one, because I remember it from when I was a kid. When I would hear my mom call for me, if there was anger in her voice, I would go that way. If there was affection and curiosity in her voice, I would go that way toward her. This is not rocket science, right? Come out wherever you are. Are you going to come out? Of course you're not. He's holding a weapon. Dad is pissed, right? So if I'm looking for you holding a gun, you will run from me. Of course you will. As well you should. And I've been looking for my experience holding a gun for a long, long time. And so suddenly I pick up meditation and go, oh, show yourself to me, great wisdom. And it just goes, no thanks. You've been mean to me for the past 50 years. You've suppressed my emotions. You've judged my flexibility. You've made fun of my strength. You've ignored my signals. You haven't returned my calls. You've called me horrible names. You've denied me. You've repressed me. You've forced me. You've victimized me. And now you want to connect? No, thank you. What I'm not saying is that the relationship is unchangeable, because it's very, very, very changeable. What I am saying is the way that we look influences what we find. The way that we look influences what we find. The way that we look influences what we find. If I look with genuine curiosity and a full heart, I tell you, that kid is so forgiving, they can run toward you. They just got to know that you're there to help them and be with them and care about them and listen to them, instead of hit them and judge them and blame them and shame them. That's the whole practice. That's all we're talking about. The whole path is this. So going in with curiosity and a willingness to listen. I want to listen to your stories. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to shame you. I want to listen. Tell me, what is it like to be a body down there? How has it been for you? I care. I matter. I really want to grow. I really want to know, right? Can you feel that this is multi-generational? I promise your parents did not do this. Not because they were stupid or bad. They were never given the opportunity to and weren't ready. Just like we weren't probably everybody in this room wasn't ready to do this 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But now we can feel, oh, maybe I'm in the edge of even being able to touch the door of the storehouse with some kindness. I know there's something in there for me, right? So we're going to write a letter that expresses our starting point. And that is, I am curious and I do want to know, but it's coming from a place of recognition, gratitude, clear seeing. I am grateful for you. I forgive you. I want you to forgive me. I am unarmed. I am undefended. That's why we're starting where we're starting today, right? There's a lot more work to be done. All of us have a relationship here to explore, but we're starting with that positive affirmation of acknowledging the strength and naming the loyalty, right? And because this is designed to soften our heart. Is that making sense to folks? Is it okay? I know I'm going on and on and on, but I'm like, man, without this, because the body is like a kid or like a puppy. You can't fool it. You can't fool it. You just can't. You know how when you try to fool a kid, like, oh, remember me? You like me. And the kid's like, I'm out of here. Oh, dear. I have a little a friend of a coworker, doesn't matter who it is. I have a little one in my life who's terrified of me because the first time she met me, she had never seen somebody without hair and she had nowhere to put that. And I tried too hard. It was just a little kid, and I tried so hard to have her like me. And she was like, you are needy and you look weird, and I am out of here. So every time I see this little one, because she's thermonuclearly cute, of course, just ridiculous. I just want to be with her all the time. Every time she's like, oh, I'm like, oh. So then, all this stuff comes up in me and these waves of anxiety. And oh God, she must see my inner badness. This is so horrible. Oh God, the priests were right. I must be a vessel of excrement. Anyway, all right, here's our thing. Letter of gratitude and loyalty to the body. I'll put that up on the screen. You will get, as I said, a copy of this later. So what I would like is to start or include in whatever it is you write some of these bullet points. I'm going to leave this up on the screen so you can see it. We're going to take about 15 probably minutes to do this. What I have on the bottom there, I'll read it just in case you're on a device that's small. A big part of this self-awareness exercise is to notice a resistance to doing it. I know we've already named that. It speaks volumes. This resistance speaks volumes about our conditioning and how we have been taught to relate to our physicality. We are working with both personal and generational karma with this exercise. So as you do this exercise, include in your awareness your resistance to the exercise, ironically, often felt in the body itself. Kind of funny, right? And choose to relax your body around that resistance. Probably you're going to get tense. So this is just a reminder to soften and breathe. Notice your emotional reactions and responses. Notice your thoughts and storylines. Notice positive sensations as well as positive emotions and thoughts. You are helping to heal more than just yourself. This really is a multi-generational thing. So these are the prompts I will leave up on the screen here for you. You can use any or all. Start with dear body and feel the dear as deeply as you can. Appreciate the body's loyalty and faithfulness, its stillness and its movement. Name things about it that you recognize and that you appreciate. Honor them. Understand its limitation. Accept its pains, weaknesses, and struggles. I understand. Forgive its pains, weaknesses, and struggles, and hold them close. So we're describing their relationship and connection and not judgment and distancing. Remind it of its strength, its capacity to heal, adapt, continue to grow stronger and healthier with loving discipline, and commit to doing that service for it. Thank the body for all it has done, and tell the body that you love it exactly as it is, as well as vowing to continue to care for it and foster its highest good. So I'm going to leave that up on the screen. We'll take 15 for this, and you're all on your own with this one. What I put up here, you can just tell I just sat down and riffed a little bit. Choose words that have more meaning for you. Choose words that have more connection to your experience. This can be a short note. It can be something longer. All we're doing is just opening the door today. We're opening the door to a relationship with a container that has a tremendous amount of grace and beauty in it. And we're wanting to begin a deeper relationship with our physicality by kind of creating some clear expression of our aspiration, right? I hope you can kind of feel that in this. So let's take 15 minutes. That'll give us enough time, hopefully, to write down some notes, get ourselves a cup of tea or so. We will meet back at 20 past the hour. And then Um, all right. So, you all hear me okay? We're good? Okay. Um, so before we switch gears, maybe I will say this. Before we switch gears, I just want to acknowledge that even though we're correct in naming the challenging relationship with our physicality as being universal, we're correct. If there's 8 billion human beings on the planet right now, we can safely say there are 8 billion complicated relationships. I like Barb's word, complicated, right? So that's fair to say that we're in universal pastures here today. We just are. But it's just as important and equally true to say that all of us have very unique patterning with our own individual bodies, right? When we said collective karma and personal karma, that's what we're talking about. Just cause and effect. I was born into the body that I was born into, right? And the reason I'm saying it that way is for some of us, this exploration of like, oh, I really want to kind of spend more time inhabiting the body and holding it in the container of my loving awareness and seeing what it has to show me. I've largely been ignoring it and I want to connect more deeply to it. For all of us, I think that's a challenging prospect, but for others of us, it's a very, very challenging prospect. I just want to acknowledge that. All of us are wounded in this way, 100% across the board. And all of us have been blessed in this way. And I want to understand that too. So it is fair to say we've all experienced some variation on victimization in our body. That takes a lot of different forms, right? Our bodies have been victimized in some form or another because of genetics, because of its strength, because of its weaknesses, because of where we live, because of how we were parented, because of the nature of our life, the ways we've been perpetrated against, violated boundaries, all that whole kind of stuff. I know there's a million different variations. So we want to acknowledge the tenderness, right? And we want to acknowledge the strength and the resiliency that is there, even in the most wounded and unreliable physical vessel. It is still clear epiphany. Right? Rumi wasn't singing the praises of his particular body because he was 7 foot tall and could bench 300 pounds and could run a marathon and was gorgeous, right? And lived to be 400 years old and never had a cold. That's not the reason. He was celebrating the beauty of the vehicle, right? He was a short, dark skinned Middle Eastern guy who lived to be 40 or whatever, right? It's really important that we not fall into the trap of victimizing ourselves and perpetrating against ourselves. Of course, we all know we've done that, but we also don't want to do the opposite of taking on any bad thing that has happened to us as our identity, right? There's a delicate balance here. So all of us are going into a highly universal and a highly personal landscape today. We always are when we're sharing with each other. We always are. But today, because it's body, this stuff tends to bring up all sorts of stuff. So I'm reminding us of the universality so we never forget I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in this. Other people have had this very same thing, but I'm also acknowledging the tenderness, right? And the privacy and the personal nature of what comes up. So please treat yourself with kindness and please treat whoever you talk to with kindness, right? So that just means you're in charge and you get to go as far down this road today as you want. We're just opening the door, right? So we're going to do breakout rooms. That has proven to be popular the last couple of months. We're going to keep playing with that, and as long as it keeps working, I'm going to just partner you up. One of you will be in a group of 3, and so we're just going to spend 20 minutes That should allow 10 minutes per person, or in the 3-person group, 7 minutes or 6 minutes per person. Spend that time how you wish. You have an attentive ear and you have an attentive heart looking at you. You have somebody who's doing the same work that you are committed to doing. And these containers are designed to be safe and loving and kind. And we're not here to do advice. We're not here to do superiority. We're not here to advertise our brilliance. We're not here to jump in and correct. We're just listening ears and listening hearts. So this gives all of us an opportunity to not only learn to be more attentive listeners, but it gives us an opportunity to be clearer speakers. Giving voice to our spiritual work is really, really important. So, because today's focus is body, if you are the listener, I encourage you to pay attention to your body while you're listening. Because this person's going to be telling you stuff about, oh, here's what I noticed in my letter. Here's what I wrote, or here's part of what I wrote, or I don't want to read what I wrote, but here's what I noticed. Whatever. It's up to you. Notice how it feels and pay attention to what it's telling you. This is just between you and you. This is just you paying attention to your body as a listening vessel, right? Because your brain's going to tell you stuff. You're going to have opinions and all that kind of stuff. But listen, pay attention to the body as a vehicle for listening. Your body is listening and it's telling you stuff, right? And same with the speaker. When you are talking, when you are saying, oh, do I want to say that? Do I not? How does it feel to say that? Pay attention. What does it do to your breath? Where does your breath go? Right? Where does the constriction go? What does your gut tell you? Just explore, you guys. This is just play, right? It's beautiful, holy, serious play, but it is still play. So pay attention today as you are sharing, whether you're the speaker or the listener, to what the body is, how the body is showing up for you. Does that sound cool? That's a trick question. You have to say, even if it doesn't. All right, cool kids. 20 minutes for this. I will set a timer and I'll pull you back. I'll give you a 1-minute notice. All right.
Yeah.
You speak for all of us, of course, because of your framing here around aging. I mean, ideally, hopefully, we all grow old. Right? Best case scenario. And I love the words, the acknowledgement of I care for you and I hold things. I've absorbed a lot of stuff that you couldn't handle, which is very true for all of us. And the idea of let's have that relationship now be loving. It has to change as we age. So they're 100%. I figured you had done variations. All of us, I think, a lot of us who have done therapeutic work have done variations on the letter to the body, or dialoguing with symptoms, or dialoguing with the inner child, or some variation on opening up communication, a line of communication that wasn't previously there. But it doesn't surprise me that the body kind of grabs the pen at some point and says, actually, you need to do listening. And I need to do talking. So that's very, right, because we know the confusion is here, right? The confusion isn't here. The confusion's here. Like, are you telling me to take a nap, or are you telling me that you're low on blood sugar and we should probably go for a walk? And then, of course, we get immediately confused by, well, there's one of those things I want and one of those things I don't want. There's more effort and less effort, and then off to the races we go. I love those. And so instead of getting angry at you, body, for giving me mixed messages, why don't I instead put myself in the position of responsibility and say, I'm going to listen more carefully, and I love where you took it. I'm going to listen with some love or compassion or some wisdom, right? Love is just compassion and wisdom are just the sort of right leg, left leg of love in the field of time. Compassion, wisdom. So the wise, clear, discerning, right? The clarity part is, wait, what do we need? What do we need? Not want. You'll notice I'm using the word need. We need exercise and we need rest. Like those, they don't oppose one another. We need them both. So the discernment is, oh, I wonder what I actually need right now. And then I'm peeling apart. Can you feel what I want, what I'm in the mood for versus, right? But doing that, the compassion piece is, I'm feeling this with you. I'm not pushing you away. I know we're tired and I know we want to take a nap. That sounds really, really good. Tell you what, let's do our walk and then we'll come home and we can sneak in 20 minutes of blah, blah, blah before. I mean, I'm making this up. I don't, on any given day, right? It's a moving target. But this is one of the things that's hard for us in all of our relationships, right? It's a boundary setting thing. It's like, what does loving boundary look like? It doesn't mean I obey, right? I'm the servant of the body. No, 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 no. But I'm tired of being the abusive, neglectful master too, right? So somewhere in between those two must be love. There must be a possibility of going, right? Come on, come on. I know you're tired. I know you don't want to. Come on. I'm speaking from personal experience right now because 5 days a week I make myself go do something that I actively hate, which is running. Someday I might make my peace with it. I am not there yet. So come on. Oh, I know. Come on. And I actually do that. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Off we go. Off we go. Now, what I can feel in myself, I'm not setting myself up as the ideal here. I'm setting myself up as somebody who has to deal with this a lot because I'm very aware. I don't want to do this for a bunch of reasons. And there is part of me that does want to do it for other reasons. And that the prompting to go has some love in it, and it has some discernment in it, and it has some compassion in it. And it also has judgment in it. I am not doing this perfectly yet. I am aware every time I put those shoes on, I am motivated by anger, judgment, fear, shame, and also the invitation to, right, be connected and wise. And, oh, I'm going to go celebrate the strength of this vehicle. It can still run. Someday it won't be able to. You will not be able to run. Someday I may say run, and it'll say I can't anymore. That doesn't happen for us anymore. Oh, and in that moment, I would give anything. I would give anything to be able to do that around the block, you know. But right now, I'm still lucky enough to inhabit a body that can do that. So the discernment every day is, do you really need to rest? If you need to rest, we rest. And then internally, I have to work. I usually end up having to do some work around the shame that arises or the fear. Is this really right? Am I fucking this up? Am I going to gain weight? What's that going to mean about me? Am I going to get lazy? Am I going to lose my blah, 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 whatever shows up? But I love that this is a moving target. It's the thing is what we're paying attention to rather than the thing. Because we can't always say the walk is always good and rest is always bad. And we certainly can't say rest is always good and the walk is always bad. We know that we're living in a dynamic there. So that just means the degree of attention we have to pay to the signals. I just have to dial up my sensitivity. Like, hey, what are you really needing? I like discernment only because I feel that same thing. Like my mouth is about a 2-year-old that just wants to taste everything. And so if I'm not there to set the limit and say, no, 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 sweetie, you get one chocolate egg. That's how much you get. We can save the rest of our basket for later. That's what love looks like. What love wouldn't look like is me saying to my little 2-year-old niece, eat the whole basket. She'd be thrilled. She would think I was great for about an hour. And then she'd be really sick because that would be horrible. And it probably wouldn't occur to her, oh my God, he's an asshole. Why wasn't he supervising me more lovingly? She would blame herself because that's what we all do, right? And it wouldn't occur to her, hopefully, until therapy 50 years later. Wait, there was no boundary there. Why didn't someone set a boundary and stop me from eating the whole Easter basket? Who leaves a 2-year-old alone with an Easter basket? Oh, I love it. Yeah, isn't that good? Oh, I'm so glad you brought this. Other folks, anybody else on that? When does love look like doing it, and when does love look like not doing it? When does love look like the hot tub and the massage and the sleep? And when does love look like, nope, today we're going to go one more mile than we did yesterday because I'm here to celebrate your strength. I'm not here to make you weak. I'm here to embody your strength. Come on, you can do it. Can you feel that can be done from love? I'm actually asking that rhetorically because I know for most of us that hasn't been done from love. Right? No pain, no gain means ignore your body. And you think, God, but damn, there's actually a beautiful truth in that without friction, without resistance, there's no growth. So there's a beautiful piece of something that's actually true there, but it was given to us through the lens of anger and judgment and shame, right? And so more is always better and less is always worse. And you think, oh God, there was something really beautiful being handed to me there, but I missed it. So of course I was encouraged to not listen to this. And we also get really, really confused about what actually hurts us and what's just uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Like when I'm doing harm to myself versus, oh, I don't want to do one more rep. You can do one more rep. Of course it burns. You're at the edge. You're in friction. You can do it. And then you do it. Oh, and the muscle just gets stronger. It can't get stronger without the resistance, without the, right? It's struggling against gravity and it's pushing and it's uncomfortable. And most of us don't have the mindfulness of body, all of us, really, the mindfulness of body to be able to discern in that moment, is this me? It just is uncomfortable because I'm at the edge of what I can do. I'm growing. Or is this my body saying, you are harming me? Stop. So no, wait. When is the message we need to rest? You can beat me until I run, and I will eventually run. But I promise in the long run, that's going to do this to both of us, right? Versus, I don't want to. You can kind of feel it. Like, no, 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 come on. And with practice, this gets clear. We're not asking any of us to walk away from this um, group today clear about this. What would be really cool is if all of us walked away going, oh, my body is sending me signals. And most of the time, I'm confused about what's being given to me. I'm not sure yet. So that's not the body failing and it's not me failing, but it is an invitation for me to get closer. So I go, oh, what are you saying there? I want to get better at knowing when you're saying you are harming me and when you're just saying, but I don't wanna, because there's a difference there, right? That's beautiful. Here's what I hope. I know we got to shift gears here. We'll sit for the last few minutes. Um, a lot of us are really, really challenged by compassion, understandably. We're really challenged by the practice of compassion, the teachings around compassion, the great heart of Jesus, the great meta practice, whatever. We're really, really challenged by it. And what seems like an in for a lot of us is a kid. If you imagine the person you're having a hard time with as a young child, or practicing compassion or loving kindness toward an animal. I've heard this over and over and over. Like, that son of a bitch, I can't find any compassion for him. Can you find compassion for a 2-year-old? Oh, yeah, of course, right away. How about the stray cat? Oh, yeah, right away. I cry like crazy whenever I see the ASPCA ad with Sarah McLachlan. I'm useless. 30 seconds later, I'm sobbing. I'm useless because it's a suffering puppy and not a suffering human. Humans are the worst. But the puppy, right? So all we're seeing there is, this is my own split, because of course you are an animal. You're a mammal. That poor body is just a mammal, exactly like the kitten, exactly like the puppy, exactly like the horse. It's a mammal. It's warm-blooded. It was born from another body. It didn't know it was separate. Then it had to discover being separate and figure out moving and figure out eating and figure out trying to not be alone and figure out staying warm enough and figure out staying cold enough. And there it is. Wow. There's a mammal here, and it hurts and it's scared and it's lonely and it's trying to get its needs met, right? Wow. It's reminding us of that because we haven't been conditioned to think of ourselves like that. We have been conditioned to think of ourselves as hopelessly separate from not only other animals on this planet, but separate from the planet itself. And then in this body, this part up here being separate from this part down here. Separate, 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 separate. No wonder we treat each other the way we do. No wonder we treat animals the way we do. No wonder we treat the planet the way we do. No wonder when I stub my toe, my first reaction is, you clumsy idiot. You stupid, useless body. You dumb body pilot. Why weren't you paying attention? Why do you feel so much pain down there? Can you feel it? All of these splits, all of these splits, all of these splits. So we come by all this stuff honestly. And I know this is just the very beginning of what I hope is a lifetime of curiosity about the beautiful mud body. But where Rumi started us today is true. It is epiphany. All of it is here. If I really want to understand my ancestors, I have to go in here. And if I want to connect to Suzanne's broken heart or Diane's fear or Mike's ambivalence, I have to go here. My body knows all of those things. My emotions know all those things. I can't keep trying to take this head to head bypass as any sort of connection, because it's not. It's really not. So to disregard the vehicle, the Dharma vehicle, my teacher calls it, to disregard the Dharma vehicle is to disregard the Dharma. I miss the whole thing. So what a beautiful thing you've done today. You've opened a door. You've opened a door for yourself, or you've at least put your hand on the door. You don't just put your hand on the door. There's something beautiful about that. So I tell you what, before we do announcements and part company, let's sit for just a couple of minutes. What a wonderful way to end. And let's let this just be a celebration. Just a few minutes of quiet presence with this beautiful, faithful, confused, and um, revelatory thing we call the body. Let's just breathe with it for a few minutes. And then we'll wrap up. What a wonderful way to end. All right, folks. Thank you for sitting with me, and thank you for showing up today for yourselves the way you did. Um, I appreciate the courage. I appreciate the courage that happened here today. Um, oh, Suzanne beat me to it. This is not an easy one for all of us. And the time spent in this work, I don't know, the less armored I am against myself, the less armored I am against the world. The world sure does not need one more angry, armored, split person. And most of us have been that for decades. That's what most humans are. So there's a lot going on when a group of people meets the way we have done today, and that they are choosing to do the things you're choosing to do. It matters. So I appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. The next mindfulness practice group, I must have it written down here somewhere, is the 20th of April. So mark your calendars for that. We also have an in-person retreat for those of you who are in town here or mobile. We'll be doing that at Aslan, our wonderful space there at Aslan, and that's on the 13th of April. If you want to be added to the roster there and you haven't already, drop me a line and make sure you get on the list. We'll need about 10 people or so to pay for the space. So I look forward to doing that with all of you, hopefully. And the next class is on the calendar second week of May. I want to say, I think as soon as I figure that stuff out and post it, I immediately forget it. So we're going to do befriending the small self. It'll be variations on actually a lot of what we did today. We're not going to talk about the body too much. It's mostly about understanding how ego is created, what its function is, how it works, and starting to understand it as an ally and a friend as opposed to an enemy. So, in that last sense, it's very much like what we did today. Like, I'm big, I can contain you, it's okay, I'll hold you, right? Just like we do with the body. I'm glad you're here, you're an important function. An understanding of ego functioning is really, really critical at several of our stages of work because that which we cannot understand, we really can't be present to fully, and we have a very hard time making friends with. But if we start to understand it, not only where it came from, why it developed, and how it works, but then we start kind of seeing it and you go, oh, I get it. This is the thing you do right. Does that make sense? If we don't understand it, then it just becomes this sort of anonymous thing we're trying to rise above or transcend or defeat or cut off or, oh God. Religious language around the ego is usually not very pleasant. So we have a little unlearning to do. That's how I've always seen it. So that's coming up in May. I would love to have all of you aboard for that one. Otherwise, as always, keep dropping me lines from time to time, stuff you'd like to talk about things you'd like to spend more time on. If I can be of service to you personally, let me know. And it's wonderful to see you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful Saturday. Continue to care for the mud body and the clear epiphany, and we will see each other again in a month. Travel safely. Be well. Thank you for being here.